Hi, Scholar Coachees. This is Dr. Jamie Williams, and I am very excited to welcome you to the 2025-26 Coke Scholar Coaching Program. We are happy you threw your hat in the ring to participate and be paired with an older Coke Scholar as your coach over the course of 5 sessions in your first year of college. This video will be a little bit longer than the subsequent 4 that I send you about each session because I do want to spend a little time walking you through this Coachees playbook. This is the place you'll go to find all the information you need for your coaching sessions. So let's do a quick walkthrough. From the home page, you'll find my email. If you ever need anything, reach out, email me. I'll be glad to help. There's a listing here of the coach-coachee pairings. If you don't see this list on your phone, or if you make your browser window too narrow, it may disappear. So you can always click this link to go to the spreadsheet that has these pairings. This is listed by last name, your last name. We made the pairings as best as possible with something in common. It could have been your LDI facilitator from Coke Scholars Weekend this past April. It could be that your coach is a graduate of the school you're going to this fall. It could be they're from the same town or state or region, some major or industry of interest in common. That gets us to about 65 of you. The remaining 20, you're going to find out what you have in common beyond being Coke Scholars. So it's always a great time to get to know your coaches over the course of these 5-hour-long sessions. Under what to expect, that reminds you about those 5-hour-long sessions and how the program is structured. As a reminder from the application site that you submitted, we're focusing on strengthening your connection to the Scholars Network, looking at the LDI pillars of self-awareness, empathy, vision, and inspiration throughout your first year of college, and exploring concepts around personal leadership development, growth mindset, and ultimately goal setting. Remember that working towards setting and achieving a goal is one of the distinctions of coaching from other helping roles like advising or mentoring, therapy, or counseling. But read through all these. The logistics, a reminder of scheduling the sessions. We'll be doing an evaluation at the very end. This is a high-level summary of the session topics and the pre-work, about half an hour of pre-work for each of the 5 sessions, nothing too heavy. Some short readings or reflections and recordings, similar to what you did at LDI. These are the high-level expectations of participating that you and your coach will communicate as at least 24 hours in advance if you have to reschedule. Life happens. Just be in communication. We want you to respond promptly to any messages or calls from your coachees, promptly meaning within 24 hours there. There's always the occasion that a handful of scholars are removed from the program if their coach reports that they're showing up, not having done their pre-work, not replying to messages in a timely manner, if they have to chase you down, not showing up without any communication about why, or otherwise being disengaged from the program. What we know is that a lot of times Coke Scholars will apply for anything put in front of them, but we want to be clear that we want you to be successful. And this is a way to be successful by having a coach in your life. Sometimes we know that Coke Scholars, college students can get overwhelmed once classes start and all your leadership and involvement kicks in on your campuses, and they just don't have time for coaching. That is the moment when you need a coach most. These are the conversations that will help you explore how best to balance all of these competing demands and be successful. So before you decide, I'm going to cut coaching because I just don't have time, I want to encourage you to take advantage of your coach as a resource to help you better manage those challenges. And then finally, as we shared earlier, everything you share with your coach is just for you and your coach. They're not reporting back to me necessarily every word that you're saying. The 2 instances where they may have to break confidentiality is an indication of harm to self or others, in which case they'll reach out to campus emergency resources. That's the first time they might break confidentiality. That has not happened in the previous 9 cycles of coaching. But also coaching supervision. The first year coaches receive supervision from an executive leadership coach, and they may talk about your coaching sessions broadly about what you're focusing on, the challenges you're facing, the challenges they're facing as they're developing their coaching skills. For the veteran coaches, those not in their first year of coaching, I serve as their coach supervisor. So they may reach out to me with questions about advice. Can I help them explore best ways to approach a particular challenge a coachee is facing? But again, we encourage them not to use your names when they're having those coaching supervision conversations. So that's the overview. And the most important thing to be aware of right here are the session details. Again, there are 5 sessions over the course of the coaching engagement, one every 6 weeks or so through the end of April into May. Right now, the full details for session 1 are available. When session 2 is ready in mid-October, the full details will be available. And again, all the way through session 5, which will happen late spring. What you'll see is this box for preparation. This is the pre-work we ask you to do, and I'm going to scroll down in a minute and show you more about that. The reflection questions you can have in mind as you approach your first coaching session. And the intent of this first coaching session is to establish a trusting rapport with your coach and for you to have that coaching engagement clarified. Again, what is coaching as distinct from advising, where an advisor wants to pass on specific information to you? Think about an academic advisor telling you which classes to take to stay on track to graduate on time, as distinct from mentoring. And you could think of a mentor as somebody not necessarily even older than you, but somebody has traveled down a path that you want to travel down, and they have particular words of wisdom to pass on to you. And certainly not therapy or counseling. That's a whole other licensed, credentialed support role you can find on your college campuses, in your campus career center, or counseling centers rather. Coaching is about working with the coachee to ask powerful questions to help them reflect on their experiences, to make meaning, to identify learning from those experiences, and to apply those learnings to subsequent experiences. That's what the goal and the distinction of coaching is. All right, into session 1. This video will be the video I'm recording right now. This is last year's video, and you can see what the previous platform looked like. We have a new platform. It's very exciting. You can't fully appreciate it, but it's a lot less clunky than the old platform. For the prep work, and you're going to see some photos from our recent new coach training in Atlanta, but for the prep work, at least 48 hours before your scheduled coaching session, we ask you to open 2 different documents. These are both Google Docs, a social identity map. This should take no more than 15 minutes, and a values identification assessment. Again, this should take no more than 15 minutes. I'm going to show you both of mine as an example, or at least my social identity map as an example. And we want you to share with your coach in a way that you agree upon. It may be an attached PDF to an email. It can be a screenshot in the body of an email, but just find out from your coach, have that conversation before your session. How would you like me to share my results from my social identity map and my values identification assessment? And then during session 1, we'll include a short blurb here explaining what you'll be doing, what the goal is. You're establishing a trusting rapport, setting expectations, and having a conversation around that social ID map and your values identification. All right, to show you the social ID map, this is to extend, in particular, the self-awareness component of the LDI, the Leadership Development Institute pillar of self-awareness, where you think about your given, chosen, and core identities. Your given identities are things that are outside of your control, where you fall in the birth order, where you were raised, your height, physical characteristics, perhaps. Chosen identities are the things that you choose. It's right there in the name, the things you've chosen. You've chosen a certain school. You've chosen certain ways to spend your time. You've chosen certain political affiliations. And then your core identity are the things that you feel are unique to who you are and make you who you are. Those can be a combination of given and chosen identities. So in this exercise, I'm going to show you my social identity map here. The outer circle in the blue are the given characteristics, those things you didn't have control over necessarily. The middle circle in gold are the chosen characteristics. And then at the core, the center in green, are your core identities. So if I was sharing this with my coach, my given characteristics are: I'm an only child, I'm a first generation college student, I have blue eyes and brown hair, although it's more gray every day. I have a recently diagnosed hearing impairment, and the next time I see you in person, I'll probably be wearing hearing aids. I'm 5'11", and I'm from a very small town in South Carolina. If you look around where you are right now, you probably are in a place bigger than the town I grew up in. So those are my given identities. In the middle here, these goals, these things I've chosen. I chose to get married. We chose to have children. I chose a career that's supporting what I call HAHA students, which are high ability, high achieving students. And I like that the acronym's HAHA because y'all are kind of funny to work with sometimes. I have chosen to value in a professional lens competency and commitment and follow through, both for myself and for my colleagues. I love to travel, and I'm a big baseball fan. And then at the core of what's most important to me is that I'm a husband and a father, and competency, both demonstrating it to others and having that competency, commitment, and follow through back to me from my colleagues and collaborators is core to who I am. And there's a short reflection down here. You don't have to worry about writing an elaborate paragraph or really structured notes, but think about this reflection note question and how you'd have that conversation with your coach about the process and the revelation, the learning from going through and creating your social identity map. So that's the first piece. If you spend more than 15 minutes doing this, you are overthinking it. So don't spend more than 15 minutes on it in the way that a lot of haha students do in these things. Then the other exercise is similar. We want you to reflect on these 25 most commonly noted values. We are partners with the Center for Creative Leadership. All of their decades of research shows that these are the top 25 values that show up most commonly when they are surveying executives and leaders in different businesses and communities and education realms. There may be values that are important to you that aren't reflected here, and you can certainly identify those. What we want you to do, what's most important, is that you identify 5 values, and it may be tough to narrow down to 5, but that's part of the exercise. What 5 values can you identify as most important in your life right now? And how you manage this, these are Google Docs. You can download this or save it to your own Google Drive. But go through, one way to look at it is go through and write the word A for always important in each block, if it isn't always important to you, an S for sometimes, and maybe an N for never. And then you can narrow down to see how many A's you have. If you have more than 5 A's, put a star, number of stars, whatever method it takes to identify which are most important. That's what you should do with this. And then there's a few pages here of other reflection questions that would be particularly useful and important as you come into that first coaching conversation, especially this last page, what I want most, what I think about most, how I use money, my time, who I enjoy being around. It may happen if you start on page 1 here and identify those 5 values, and then you go through and think about and reflect on these questions. You may want to reorder or kick something out of your initial top 5, and through this process you realize, you know what, I want to bring family into this or creativity, whereas I wasn't thinking in that way before. So for both this, the values identification exercise, and the social identity map, 48 hours before your scheduled coaching session, be sure to have done this and scheduled at least the top 5 values and a screenshot of your actual map back to your coach. Again, go through these reflection questions for both exercises and think about these, because your coach may use some of these as prompts in your first coaching exercise, your first coaching session, to talk about how the exercise went, how challenging it was for you, and how you're seeing those identities and values show up already on your college campus. Again, going back to the other session outlines, a couple of weeks before session 2, which should take place around mid-October. So early October, I'll send an email out to everybody, including another narrated shorter video focusing just on the session that will have all the details below this box about what you can expect session 2 to include. The same for 3, 4, and 5 through your academic year. If you ever have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. You're in great hands. You've got some great coaches that are in your corner and want to support you succeeding. Certainly, if you have questions, reach out to them, reach out to me, and have a great year with coaching.